Let's talk about the McBling era aesthetic, because this is very different from Y2K, although it often gets lumped in or mistaken for Y2K aesthetic. The McBling era is actually what came after the Y2K era. This was the early to mid 2000s. Roughly around 2003 is when I personally feel like I experienced this full shift from Y2K to McBling. The McBling era was post 9/11 American culture to the fullest. This was the juicy couture, Von Dutch, blinged out flip phone era. It was all about conspicuous wealth and consumption and labels and celebrity. This era was very optimistic and fun and celebrity driven and really over the top. It was like American culture almost to the point of being a fantasy or like a parody of American culture. The McBling era was a huge change from Y2K, which was very future focused, and a lot of the styles in the Y2K era were kind of androgynous. The McBling era, on the other hand, especially for women, was the complete opposite. Women's fashions were extremely feminine and extremely sexualized. We saw that in things like the low-rise jeans, of course, the tops that looked like lingerie, and also in just the fakeness of everything. We had super long hair extensions, we had deep tans, we had fake nails. Everything was just fake and sort of this ideal version of what a woman should look like. And this is really reflected in pop culture as a whole with media, TV. There's a lot of like frat boy humor. McBling was all about labels and flaunting your wealth, but it was not sophisticated. This was like extreme luxury, but a little trash. And this was a really big change from Y2K, which was a softer aesthetic. In the McBling era, we got a lot of skin, and things like pastels turned to bright colors. Things like shimmer turned to glitter, studs, rhinestones. And this was also a time when there were luxury brands that felt more accessible. So things like Juicy Couture and Von Dutch and even things like designer denim were things that normal people could buy. So you could see a picture of Paris and Nicole wearing 7 jeans, and you could go to your local mall and buy 7 jeans. When it comes to fashion for your average person shopping at the mall, denim was huge. There was a lot of novelty denim, and waistlines also went very, very low. The color palette changed a lot from Y2K. Colors got a lot bolder, a lot brighter. And then of course labels became very, very important. People became loyal to certain brands, even for casual clothes like a tank top. And things like Playboy bunnies and innuendos on graphic tees at the mall became very, very popular. The McBling era was really all about fun and glamour and sex, almost to the point of being a little ridiculous. And while the 90s and Y2K era had a lot of 60s influences in the styles and the fabrics and the colors, the McBling era had a lot of 70s influences, such as this built-in belt on my jeans. And sort of leading up to the McBling era, this sort of peasanty boho style became very, very popular with these blouses and like the lace-up jeans, and that continued into McBling as well. This was also the Abercrombie and Hollister era. So here's some prime McBling style: the low waist, the deep dark tan. Everything was very exaggerated, very fake, and you can see very, very bright, and also a lot of skin was shown. Here we have, again, a lot of bright colors. We have a glitter belt. Shimmers of the Y2K era kind of turned into harder metallics in the McBling era. So we saw a lot of glitter, a lot of studs, and a lot of rhinestones. We also have a tie front shirt, which is kind of reminiscent of that peasanty vibe. Halter tops were super popular, again, very reminiscent of 70s trends. And then of course we have the Penny Lane jackets. These were a very, very McBling fashion staple. We loved them, very 70s. Again, super bright colors, deep dark tan. This was 2004 at my prom. Every single person had a different color of this extremely poofy dress. Everything was exaggerated, larger than life, almost like a fantasy world. In the early days of McBling, 2003, 2004, you can see that there's a lot of skin showing between my shirt and my very low-rise flare jeans. The shirts hadn't gotten super long yet. Here we see, again, this is that lace-up shirt with a mini skirt. Again, there's skin showing between. We haven't gotten to the layering phase yet. That happened a little bit later. Around 2005, 2006, things started to change a little bit within the McBling aesthetic. We started layering a lot. Shirts got really long. Accessories like sunglasses and bags and even jewelry got really, really big and chunky. And as shirts got longer, we started layering these tiny short jackets and shrugs and mini vests and things like that over there. And we also started seeing changes in texture. So we saw a lot of lace, we saw a lot of satin on things like camis and shirts and things like that. We also saw a lot of sequins, and I think this started to sort of pave the way for the girl boss era of the 2010s. And while it still stayed consistent with a lot of the McBling trends, it was a very over-accessorized sort of boho or glam take on the earlier McBling trends. Celebrities like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan were really the ones who exemplified the early kind of core McBling year. More boho or edgy celebrities like the Olsen twins, Rachel Zoe, Nicole Richie really exemplified the sort of later boho years. After the financial crisis around 2008, 2009, McBling really shifted into kind of this 80s revival and eventually indie sleaze and girl boss era, because people were no longer flaunting wealth and labels as a fashion statement. So that's my little overview on McBling, and next time we'll talk about indie sleaze.